Chapter 31. Cannot wait to kill him. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Of course, it was Yang Ji and Yu Bin, who stopped Lin Fan. Who are you? Lin Fan dismounted the horse, and then readied his hand on the sword sheath and stared at those people. Yang Ji. 4th stage, possible item drop. 30 years worth of cultivation, golden whirlwind hammer. 3rd stage, ox crushing the mountain. 4th stage, silver money, steel hammer, 1 pair, Shaohuan Dan, 1 bottle, catkin body. 2nd stage. Yu Bin. 3rd stage, possible item drop. 31 years worth of cultivation, water roots, fragments, dark weapon. 4th stage, skull armor, shadowless. 3rd stage, silver money, steel needles, paper fan, blood claw. 3rd stage. Lin Fan did not expect those guys to have so many good abilities and items. What Lin Fan wanted most were their abilities. Especially ox crushing the mountain. He felt that it was a good ability. Boy, do you really want to know who we are before you die? Don't you think it's too late? Yang Ji hit the ground with his twin hammers. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for killing those who should not be killed. Are you talking about Dr. Sun and Lun Yen? Lin Fan laughed. Why can't I kill those two? Do you really think you can kill me here? This kid is crazy, it will be interesting. Yang Ji smashed the ground with his hammer. Yu Bin swayed the paper fan gently, calmly said, your life is in my hands right now. Remember to be a wiser person in your next life. Yu Bin said. When Yang Ji was about to behead Lin Fan. Wait. Lin Fan shouted and stopped him. Look behind you. Are you too weak that you can't feel his presence, or are you too afraid of him? Huh, boy, don't try to trick me. Yang Ji said. Yu Bin wouldn't stop even though he heard Lin Fan. But Yang Ji thought they should not be too reckless. The Dragon Gang. Lin Fan frowned. He knew the existence of the Dragon Gang. The Jiangdu City Port Gang had great power and controlled nearly 80% of the port's taxes. The remaining 20% that were controlled by wealthy merchants in the city. It seemed that things were a bit complicated. Boy, just die. Yang Jinu sighed and was ready to take a stance. Lin Fan said, look behind you. Huh, are you still saying that so you can escape? Yang Ji said, he was gradually becoming smarter while he was with Yu Bin. Yu Bin didn't believe what Lin Fan said. You guys really need to look back. Lying is not my style. Lin Fan scratched his head. Ha ha ha, am I that stupid in your eyes? Yang Ji laughed and then looked back. Suddenly. His expression changed, his pupils dilated. Please read this novel on original translation site systemtranslation.com. That was indeed someone who stood silently watching them. Brother you. Yang Ji muttered quietly, somebody. Someone, what? Yu Bin frowned, looking at Yang Ji in confusion. There is someone behind us. Yang Ji shouted and took a stance, Wang Zhou, why are you here? When Yu Bin heard the name of Wang Zhou, his hands were trembling. Impossible. Wang Zhou said, am I not welcomed here? At the same time, Wang Zhou was shocked that Lin Fan could handle such situation, as he expected. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Yu Bin didn't believe it, he planned everything thoroughly. How could that happen? To determine whether Wang Zhou will come or not, they all observed for a long time to make sure Wang Zhou didn't come. Frankly speaking, you are smart and indeed smart enough, but you are also stupid enough. When you ask the children to deliver the letter to me, I have already seen through your plan clearly. You killed Wei Xiong and use him to frame me. That is so cruel. Lin Fan already figured out their plan before he went there. Tons of TV series and movies saved Lin Fan. All Lin Fan needed to do was just explain everything to Wang Zhou, then he could solve the problem easily. Yubin stared at Lin Fan, and he said, "How could you know what I think, Yubin received a heavy blow. To think he already planned it so carefully, but Lin Fan could read it clearly. Yang Ji panicked because Wang Zhou put a lot of pressure on them. It was impossible to escape from Wang Zhou. "Wang Zhou, you know who we are, you should know the consequences if you kill us," Yubin said in a deep voice. He hoped Wang Zhou will fear the organization backing them. But Wang Zhou drew his sword when he heard Yubin's words. "Even if I put your corpses at the front of Dragon Gang's door, no one will dare to claim that you guys are their men. Sir, leave this one to me." Lin Fan could not wait any longer, he just wanted to kill Yang Ji and obtain the ability. Chapter 32 Has fallen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hey! Wang Zhou wanted to stop Lin Fan and told Lin Fan that the person was not an easy opponent, but it was too late. He saw Lin Fan carrying a sword. Amazing, I didn't expect this kid to have so much potential. It was not easy for Wang Zhou to see Lin Fan's true potential. Boy, you're looking for death. Yang Ji was furious, he moved forward, leaped, leaving deep footprints on the ground, his twin hammer fell from the sky, at a high speed, and the chance to survive from it was almost zero. Golden Whirlwind Hammer was a brutal hammer technique. It was like a whirlwind. Boom! The twin hammers slammed the ground shook, leaving 2 deep holes. But Lin Fan moved so fast with his sword technique, Lin Fan's sword was already at Yang Ji's neck in just a split second. The powerful sword technique, the Yin-Yang sword technique, was the technique that concentrated in its speed. Yang Ji blocked the sword with his hammer. It sparked when the sword and the hammer clashed. The opponent was indeed formidable, but Lin Fan was far stronger than him. Twin Sunday. Mountain Peak. Scorched Earth. Burning Sky. Lin Fan's sword continuously slashed Yang Ji. Lin Fan used Lun Yan's technique better than himself. Yang Ji was stabbed in the waist, and he felt his blood was flowing out. Have I met you before this day? Cyclone. Yang Ji roared, straightened his arms, and took a stance. Yang Ji's body quickly spun up, the speed kept increasing, and the hammer was swinging furiously like a cyclone. Its wind cut the grass on the ground. Ox crushing the mountain. At the center, Yang Ji growled while using another technique and moved toward Lin Fan. It's dangerous. Lin Fan's speed increased, he avoided it like a white horse jumped the obstacle, and in the blink of an eye, Lin Fan arrived on the other side. That was the technique of the rabbit demon, although it was a pseudo. Bronze grade, it saved him. Please read this novel on original translation site systemtranslation.com. Boom! Yang Ji crushed a giant tree with his technique. This guy is the real deal. Lin Fan said. Yang Ji was still spinning around like a cyclone. Boom! Another innocent giant tree was brutally crushed by Yang Ji. Let me crush your bones, guys. Yang Ji shouted, he was spinning like crazy, but Lin Fan was faster than him, he couldn't even touch Lin Fan's shadow. It's impossible for you to stop me. Lin Fan said. You son of a. Yang Ji was furious and kept chasing Lin Fan. The Golden Whirlwind Hammer and the ox crushing the mountain were really terrifying. Lin Fan didn't know how to beat Yang Ji. But after a while, the Golden Whirlwind Hammer disappeared. Yang Ji dropped his twin hammer on the ground while panting heavily, he felt so dizzy, and couldn't help but vomited. Kid, Yang Ji couldn't stand up anymore. Although that technique was very powerful, it had a fatal flaw that it could not last for too long. Otherwise, he will feel dizzy. This is my chance. Lin Fan saw the opportunity and rushed up with his sword. Damn! Yang Ji roared while holding the hammer, even though he was so dizzy, but the power of his hammer was still not to be underestimated, but Lin Fan couldn't be underestimated either. Yang Ji couldn't move like usual, and the hammer in his hand was thrown up into the air. He was shocked because he did not expect such a thing to happen. Bore crash. Iron head. The spiritual power in Lin Fan's body was concentrated on his head and rammed it into Yang Ji's belly. And everyone could hear the sound of bone fracture. You are not the only one who has a combo. Lin Fan stabbed Yang Ji's forehead. Yang Ji's forehead was buried into the ground, and he stabbed Yang Ji's chest for the final touch. Yang Ji vomited blood. He grabbed Lin Fan's collar. The golden whirlwind hammer was really amusing, but that technique is a double-edged sword for its user. Lin Fan poked Yang Ji's body and pulled out the sword. Yang Ji died in Lin Fan's hands. Before dying, Yang Ji vowed in his heart that he will never use golden whirlwind hammer again. Lin Fan immediately looked at Wang Zhou and found that Yu Bin and Wang Zhou fought fiercely. And Wang Zhou was about to kill Yu Bin. Sir, don't dirty your hands, let me do it. Lin Fan rushed forward with his sword. How could Lin Fan let the chance to have a new technique slipped away? Wang Zhou was ready to kill Lu Bin, but he stopped when he heard Lin Fan's voice. He was a bit puzzled and surprised at the same time. He didn't expect Lin Fan to kill Yang Ji so fast. Lin Fan's strength should not be underestimated. Yu Bin couldn't move, all his bones were broken by Wang Zhou, and he could only look at Lin Fan with hatred. Because Lin Fan could figure out his plan so easily. There must be traitors. The traitor must be Yang Ji. Besides him, who else knew his strategy? Even though Yang Ji was already dead, he still thought so. Otherwise, it didn't make sense. Just kill me already. Lin Fan slashed Yu Bin's neck, his head was lopped off and rolled to the ground. Wang Zhou looked at Lin Fan, and he valued Lin Fan so high after seeing Lin Fan's ability with his own eyes. But he still didn't know Lin Fan still had more surprises awaited. Talented people should not stay there. Entering the Immortal Gate was the best choice. And the system was ringing. Chapter 33. Keep working hard. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Obtained. Ox crushing the mountain, 4th stage, obtained. Xiao Huan Dan, 1 bottle, obtained. 31 years worth of cultivation, obtained. Skull armor. Meanwhile, Lin Fan was stared at the system. He looked so happy because he got what he wanted, ox crushing the mountain. Name. Lin Fan, Spirit Root. Nun Realm. 4th Realm, Cultivation. 62 years, Martial Arts. Bore Crash, 1st stage, Harvesting, 4th stage, Twin Sun, 3rd stage, Iron Head, 3rd stage, Ox Crushing the Mountain, 4th stage, Talent. Hardening Skin, Black Iron Grade, Quicken, Pseudo, Bronze Grade. He already broke through the 3rd stage and entered the 4th stage. The spiritual power in his body was flowing like rivers. The flow was so strong. Lin Fan. Lin Fan. Wang Zhou saw Lin Fan, who sat there stupidly, thinking Lin Fan was worried about the aftermath. You don't need to worry about this, even if the Dragon Gang knows what happens here, they can't do anything about it. Lin Fan was actually shocked by how strong he was. He had 62 years worth of cultivation right now, a little more push, and he could be an immortal. Sir, are we going back with the corpses or should we just leave them here? Lin Fan asked. Wang Zhou said, just leave the corpses there. Although Dragon Gang will not dare to mess with us, no doubt we are giving them a huge blow in their face, there is no need to pour more gasoline to the fire. Since you already learned Dragon Gang is the organization behind the scene, you should understand something. On the way back, I will tell the current situation. It was inappropriate to kill people without burying their bodies. But let's think again about it. It would be better to leave the corpses there, at least they could serve as foods for wild animals. Lin Fan and Wang Zhou left and headed to Jiangdu City. Two people riding two horses, they traveled at a normal speed. "Master, what do you want to talk about Dragon Gang?" Lin Fan asked, and he learned from Wang Zhou that Dragon Gang did not only operate in Jiangdu City but also in every city on the land. Please read this novel on original translation site systemtranslation.com. It's not easy to deal with them. There are huge forces behind Dragon Gang. Dragon Gang in Jiangdu City is just the tip of the iceberg. Wang Zhou said and then continued, but the Immortal grants imperial power. Even if Dragon Gang is huge, they won't dare to mess around, I can assure you. Immortal grants imperial power. Lin Fan pondered, it seemed the Immortal Gate in that world was the highest authority, and even imperial power was granted by Immortal Gate. Doesn't that mean everyone could be an emperor? It was so reassuring to have that kind of back-up. Remember, don't dig too deep into this matter. It's not good for you. Your future must not end in this small Jiangdu city. You can become a legend in the future. You will marry the princess, and you can become an important disciple in Immortal Gate, and even the emperor would treat you nicely. Wang Zhou said. But the requirement was so strict. Master, with your strength and achievement, you will pass the qualification. Lin Fan said. Wang Zhou's expression changed, with full of regret, he said, I am not qualified. I have participated before. The judge said that I have no spiritual roots and so I couldn't learn the immortal law. Even if I am strong, the cultivation is so hard, so the judges decide I'm not qualified. Lin Fan felt uneasy when he heard that because he also didn't have the spiritual roots. But Yu Bin had a spiritual root, and those in the Hunter Guild also had a spiritual root. How could those people get spiritual roots? Leveling up. Buy it from someone. The sound of horseshoes approached. Wang Zhou patted Lin Fan's shoulder gently and said, if you can enter Immortal Gate, then this city will be under your control. Lin Fan laughed, Master, I also don't have spiritual roots, I'm not qualified. What are you talking about? You have to be confident. The spiritual roots are a gift. You have such strength at your young age, you might have spiritual roots. Wang Zhou said. Those two returned to the city as if nothing had happened. They acted like normal after they killed Yang Ji and Yu Bin. Hunter Guild. Lin Fan immediately checked what he could get. Xiao Huan Dan. The condensed elixir of dozens of precious medicinal herbs. Drinking it could give 5 years' worth of cultivation. Consumable item. Lin Fan heard someone could have power and cultivation hundreds of years, even though they were still 30. That elixir was the answer. At that moment, Lin Fan thought no one could beat him. Arrogant, he was really arrogant. Key. It was only 60.7 years, still nothing. Ox crushing the mountain. Fourth stage, the power flowing through the whole body, the strength increased depending on the cultivation. Hey, keep working hard. Chapter 34. Gather our men. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The results were quite satisfactory. He stared at the sky. It was already late, he hurriedly took a bath and went to sleep. Tomorrow he will train his men again. Lin Fan decided to increase the portion of the training tomorrow. At night, the entire Jiangdu city was so quiet. A horse entered the city and then stopped outside Dragon Gang's base, a man hurriedly running towards the building. Niu Hetian had fallen asleep after he had some fun with his wife and concubines. He was woken up by the man who came earlier. Then he came to the library. Master, Yang Ji and Yu Bin were killed. Niu Hetian's expression changed after he heard the news. He never expected anything from Yang Ji, but not Yu Bin. Yu Bin was a wise man. He would not be reckless in doing anything. How could he lose to a mere hunter? Is Wei Xiong dead? Niu Hetian asked. Yes, master. Niu Hetian frowned and thought, well, don't worry about it, tell someone to bury them. Yes, master. Niu Hetian was still in the library, he didn't expect Wang Zhou to be involved in that matter. The situation was clear. He originally only needed Wei Xiong and Lin Fan to die to save the trouble for Dragon Gang. If he wanted to deal with Lin Fan, he must deal with Wang Zhou first. Even though he was angry, he could still think clearly to act carefully around Wang Zhou. The next day, Lin Fan stood at the gate as usual, waiting for his men to come and told them to do physical training. His men gradually became accustomed to the training. But they could not get used to the people who were staring at their head. 15 hunters were training in Jiangdu City, and some children mocked them, talked about their heads. Even though the hunters have already accepted the reality, but that child's words hurt them. After running around Jiangdu City, they returned to the training ground for the hellish training. Those guys were just doing the first step. Lin Fan himself has already crushed an iron plate with his head. No pain, no gain. Please read this novel on original translation site systemtranslation.com. Lin Fan self-suggested his mind by saying that. The truth was he could kill someone or something to get a new technique, but he thought that would be boring. It was so painful to get stronger. After a few days, Lin Fan was still waiting for his men at the gate. Their training started to show its result, their stamina was significantly increased. Everyone has started to learn Iron Head. Although they were still so weak, that was a good start. Report. Lin Fan shouted as usual. 1, 2. 14, only 14 hunters that shouted. Who didn't come today? Lin Fan asked. Leader, Zhenbin didn't come. Wang Bao said, he was now Lin Fan's right hand. Gao Zhenbin. Lin Fan was very impressed with him. Not because of his ability, but he never slacked off in every training. He was a hard-working person. He could adapt to the training fastly. So Lin Fan thought there must be something that prevented him from attending the training. Something must have happened. He remembered the main character in the movies and TV series often encountered the current situation he was in. But the main character never realized until the very end. But the main character always said, why didn't you tell me anything? Stupid. Who knows where his house is? Lin Fan asked. Wang Bao shouted, Sir, I know, Bino El Dem, lead the way. Lin Fan intended to find Gao Zhenbin. Gao Zhenbin's house was located at an outer ring of the city near the coast. The area of super poor families. Gao Zhenbin became a hunter to support his family. Lin Fan stood outside the house. Is this Gao Zhenbin's house? Yes, this is Zhenbin's house. Wang Bao said, knocking at the door, Zhenbin, are you home? After a while, people inside the house heard Wang Bao's voice. Who is there? An old lady walked out of the room, and when she saw Lin Fan and Wang Bao's bald head she realized those two were Gao Zhenbin's friends. Ma'am, I'm Wang Bao Lu, and this is our leader. Today Zhenbin didn't come to the Hunter Guild. Our leader wants to check Zhenbin's condition. Wang Bao Lu said. The old lady suddenly panicked when she heard that, and hurriedly opened the door. Sir, my son didn't deliberately do that, please have mercy. She knelt down and asked Lin Fan to forgive her son. Lin Fan quickly held the old woman not to bow in front of him. That's not it, I'm here just to see what happened to Zhenbin. Is there something wrong? He's in the house now. The old lady said. Lin Fan saw Zhenbin on the bed with his bandaged leg. Lin Fan asked what happened to his leg while sitting on the bed. Gao Zhenbin said, Leader, when I repaired my house yesterday, I fell off and broke my leg. Zhenbin, I will prepare tea for our guest, said the old lady. Don't bother, ma'am. We're just here to check his condition. Lin Fan hurriedly stopped the old lady. Lin Fan opened the bandage covering Gao Zhenbin's leg, several bamboos covered his right leg, and it was swollen. Also there was a scar. Lin Fan's expression gradually became serious. Zhenbin, you know I don't like to be deceived. Your wound is not from falling. Leader, it's okay, I just need to rest for a few days. Gao Zhenbin said, he did not want to tell the truth. Are you still trying to cover it up? Lin Fan squinted and said angrily, are you joking with me? Gao Zhenbin panicked and said, Leader, that's not it, it's just a trivial matter, there is no need for you to bother about this. Lin Fan already knew he was hiding something. There were a lot of movies that displayed a scene like that. Gao Zhenbin acted like he saw a ghost, it meant the enemy was so dangerous, and the first thing that came to Lin Fan's mind was Dragon Gang. Is Dragon Gang the one who did this to you? Lin Fan asked. Gao Zhenbin was surprised, he didn't expect Lin Fan could guess that. If you don't want to tell me, I can make a move on my own. Lin Fan said. Leader, the truth is. Lin Fan listened to the story and endured the anger in his heart. After listening, he couldn't bear it and stood up. Damn, I will make him pay with interest. Lin Fan was about to go outside. Leader, please don't go, they were not an easy opponent, don't get in trouble because of me. I just broke my leg, and I will be fine after a few days resting. Gao Zhenbin said. You don't need to worry. We are brothers. I'm just gonna do what I'm supposed to do. Go, follow me, and gather our men. Let's see what will happen. He dares to break my men's leg. Chapter 35. Do not move. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the Ming Dynasty, there were 3 heads of the Dragon Gang, but they were all in the headquarters. In Jiangdu City, they were divided into 8 main divisions led by 8 leaders. Each main division consisted of various small groups that controlled the surrounding area and handled various things. Dragon Gang's business was shipping and controlling Jiangdu City's fish market. They rented the boats to the fishermen. As long as one was dealing with fishery, one had to deal with Dragon Gang. Dragon Gang also had casino and brothels. But not many people knew that. Hu Tang, one of the main 8 divisions leader that controlled the area where Gao Zhenbin's house was located, the sub-leader under Hu Tang was Lang Jun, he was the culprit who broke Gao Zhenbin's legs. The port. Lang Jun lied on a chair, straightened his legs, drank tea, and watched the fishermen paid taxes. What a peaceful day, he thought. The cost to rent a boat was very high, and the fishermen haven't sold the fish yet, but they had to pay the tax for the fish. That was hard for the fishermen. But they couldn't do anything about that. Dragon Gang was the devil itself, and no one dared to go against them. At that time. Brother, I heard Gao Zhenbin is a hunter. Are you sure won't get into trouble? We did break his leg and all. Lan Jun's underling said. Lang Jun closed his eyes and hummed, he opened his eyes, and he said while smiling, trouble. Lang Jun asked. Have you ever seen us in trouble? Hunters are so small like ants in the eyes of Dragon Gang. Lang Jun's underling nodded, they were proud to be a member of Dragon Gang. In Jiangdu City, no one would dare to mess with him if he said he was Dragon Gang's member. So overbearing. Meanwhile, someone came from afar. Where is Lang Jun? Get out, you punk. Lin Fan took 14 of his men, and the fishermen were shocked and they saw Lin Fan and his men with their eccentric heads. Lang Jun frowned. Who is that? Check it now. Yes, brother. Lang Jun's underling responded, then left to see the situation. Who dared to cause a ruckus in the Dragon Gang's territory? Lang Jun was already used to that kind of situation. Please read this novel on original translation site systemtranslation.com. Sometimes, there was a person who was stupid enough and tried to be a hero, but that person always ended up to be a clown. Boom. 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 Lang Jun wondered about the situation when he heard the explosion sound. He checked the situation and found his underling already fainted. What? Lin Fan was unstoppable, he kicked everyone's ass. Lang Jun's expression changed. He was shocked when he saw Lin Fan. Lin Fan's bald head was the trademark, and everyone behind Lin Fan was also bald, which made him think of Gao Zhenbin. Who are you? Do you even know where you are standing? Lang Jun said furiously and then shouted at the people around him, "Hey! Someone is making trouble." In the next second, Lang Jun's underlings surrounded Lin Fan. There were 20 or 30 people. There was a tattoo in each one of their hand. The fishermen and the farmers around the vicinity looked so afraid. They didn't know Lin Fan, but they recognized Lin Fan's bald head. Recently, there were rumors in Jiangdu City that hunters had shaved their hair and ran around Jiangdu City every morning. Now the hunters confronted Dragon Gang, which made the fishermen and farmers were confused. In the past, weren't the government and the Dragon Gang allies? So, what was the meaning of that? Some people didn't understand. Lin Fan said, "Lang Jun, you are getting in my nerves for breaking my brother's leg. I want to settle it right now." Lang Jun understood those people came for Gao Zhenbin. I wondered who are these fearless bunch who dares to cause a ruckus in our territory. It turns out to be a mere hunter. Lang Jun smiled. Gao Zhenbin violated the Dragon Gang's rules. He had it easy that he got off with only his leg broken. Lang Jun circled around Lin Fan and stared directly into Lin Fan's eyes. "I see. You want to be a hero, but let me tell you something, you won't go out of this place in one piece. Even the king himself can't protect you from us." Lang Jun said. Lin Fan squinted. What a crazy guy. Lang Jun stared at Lin Fan and then glanced at the fishermen and the farmers. "Everyone, listen to me. Anyone who dares to break the rules in Dragon Gang's territory will have a taste of the consequences." Boom. Lang Jun was suddenly stopped, a mouthful of blood spurted out, and Lin Fan violently kicked him, and he fell to the ground. Lang Jun's underlings were shocked, seeing Lin Fan kick their leader's ass. They didn't expect there was someone who was brave enough to mess with Dragon Gang. Lin Fan stepped on Lang Jun's back, looked at Lang Jun's men who were about to rush, drew a sword, and stabbed the sword in front Lang Jun's face on the ground. "Don't move!" Lang Jun shouted loudly. He was afraid that some of his men would deliberately fight Lin Fan, so Lin Fan could kill him, and finally, they could take Lang Jun's position. "Let him go if you want to leave this place alive." The crowd shouted. Lang Jun angrily said, "You shut up, will you?" After struggling for so many years, he didn't want to end in a place like Port. "Brother, we can talk about this nicely. I will pay for your brother's medicine." Lang Jun lowered his voice. He didn't believe Lin Fan dared to kill him, but he was afraid of the possibility that Lin Fan just didn't care about Dragon Gang in the first place. Chapter 36. What do you want to do? You are listening at novelfull.audio. I have heard your lines countless times. Let me guess, if I let you go, you won't give me the money, but instead, you will try to kill me, right? Lin Fan remembered the movies and TV series scenes. Every protagonist would suffer huge losses if the protagonist let the villain go. What do you want? Lang Jun asked. Lin Fan didn't answer Lang Jun, but instead, he waved his hand toward Wang Bao. Wang Bao, come here. Leader, what's the order? Wang Bao asked while staring at the other gang members around him vigilantly. Although he was already surrounded, he wasn't afraid at all. Lin Fan pointed at Lang Jun and said, "Lift him and open his clothes." "Yes, leader." Wang Bao and others lifted Lang Jun. Lang Jun panicked and said, "What do you want to do?" He had a bad hunch as if something terrible would happen. Lin Fan walked around. He found a wooden stick. Then he came to Lang Jun, poked Lang Jun's leg with the stick, nodded silently, and muttered, "Well, it will work, it should be broken with just a stick." After hearing Lin Fan's muttering, Lang Jun's face was pale, and he was so scared. "Let me go. Let me go." Lang Jun was struggling fiercely because Lin Fan still wanted to break his leg. Lin Fan told the other hunter, "Put the sword on his neck. If he continues to struggle, cut him with that sword. Come again. The hunter has only chopped chickens, ducks and goose, he never chopped off someone's neck." "Yeah." Lin Fan nodded. "Ha." There was cold steel on Lang Jun's neck, and he didn't dare to move. "Sir, please don't do this to me. You will have nowhere to go if you kill me. Why do you even care about my business here?" "Ha ha ha. Because I will annihilate everything that will ruin my future." "Well, let's end this quickly." Lin Fan aimed a spot on Lang Jun's leg. "Don't, please don't do this." Lin Fan was smiling and swung the wooden stick so fast. Bomb! The wooden stick hit Lang Jun's leg. A crack sound was heard. And Lang Jun screamed so loud. Lang Jun's right leg has been deformed, swollen, he was sweating a lot on his forehead. The surrounding fishermen and farmers shivered when they saw that scene. They didn't expect Lin Fan would really hit Lang Jun. At the same time, they were overjoyed when they saw Lin Fan did that. Because they have been victims of Dragon Gang for a long time. This is for Brother Full with interest. Lin Fan did not want to stop there. Lang Jun felt unbearable pain, and asked, "Don't, please let me go. I know I'm wrong." The pain made him cry. I know it's too late." Lin Fan swung the wooden stick in his hand, again and again, Lang Jun's body was trembling, and he finally fainted. When he was awake, his legs were already severely broken, and the pain was unbearable. Wang Bao was shocked Lin Fan could turn into a cruel person. Lin Fan hit Lang Jun without hesitation. Lin Fan put the stick to Lang Jun's crotch and patted it gently. Lang Jun, who was shocked by this action, forgot all the pain, and cried, "Sir, please don't do that. I'm really wrong, and I will never dare to mess with you." If Lin Fan really hit Lang Jun's crotch, even though he's still alive, he would be a waste. What do you think? Am I too cruel? Lin Fan laughed. Don't be afraid. I know you will not make such a foolish decision again. Lang Jun stared at Lin Fan, even though Lin Fan didn't say to kill Lang Jun. Lin Fan waved his hand, and his men dropped Lang Jun to the ground. Lang Jun collapsed to the ground, his body was aching and bare so much pain, and he could not even say a word. He felt that he had lost consciousness, and he was afraid that his legs would cease to function. Lin Fan stood beside Lang Jun, he squatted down, he grabbed Lang Jun's collar and said, "You can see clearly with your big eyes. Those who have this bald head are not afraid of you. If there is another time. No, not next time, when you dare to mess with me or my men again, you will taste the terror more than this." Lang Jun stared at Lin Fan's bald head, and under the sun's light, he was so dazzling. It was a bit disturbing. Lin Fan glanced at Lang Jun and waved his hand to drive them away. "Get out of my sight." Dragon Gang's members scattered and fled in terror. One of Lang Jun's underling was staring at Lin Fan, who crushed his big brother's legs. And there was someone appeared, Gao Yixiong, who helped Hu Tang, the leader of Dragon Gang said, "Sir, you beat up my men, and you want to leave just like that, don't you think it was a bit rude?" Gao Yixiong's voice was strong, like thunder, so loud, and shocking. Lin Fan looked back and smiled. "What do you want?" Chapter 37. He is crying. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lin Fan knew that was how it was going to end up, like classic old movies. "Leader, this is Gao Yixiong, the leader of Hu Tang division of Dragon Gang, he has a terrible personality." Wang Bao whispered. Once Wang Bao saw Gao Yixiong in the past, and he was so scared, he used to escape whenever he was in danger. But Wang Bao won't hide again. Because his own identity and responsibility drove him to fight evil to the end. Wang Bao is a hunter, and I will never bow to evil, and I will never turn my back to the enemy again. Wang Bao thought. Well. Lin Fan nodded, looking at Gao Yixiong. Gao Yixiong. 4th stage possible item drop. 50 years worth of cultivation Tiger King Fist, 4th stage, Rapid Fist, 3rd stage, Immovable Stance, 4th stage, Shadow Move, 4th stage, Gold Armor Tiger's Finger Silver Money. Lin Fan stared at that person's eyes while thinking of killing that man to get the possible item drop. Lin Fan felt that man was not an easy one, he knew that even though he hasn't fought that man yet. 50 years of cultivation was not to be underestimated, and it was impossible to fight that man head-on. Lang Jun was about to faint, but when he saw that man came, he screamed as hard as he could, "Lord, save me! Save me!" Lang Jun stared at Lin Fan furiously. Even though his legs were already broken, but he could still glare at Lin Fan, and his eyes were like saying, "You are doomed. I know what happened, it is true that my men break your men's legs first. How about I give you compensation? What do you think?" Gao Yixiong said. Lang Jun and Lin Fan couldn't believe what they heard. Lang Jun shouted, "Lord, he breaks my legs." He hoped Gao Yixiong could avenge him. But Gao Yixiong's words confused him. "You shut up for a sec." Gao Yixiong glared at Lang Jun. Lang Jun, who was about to faint earlier, really fainted because Gao Yixiong's words and glare scared him to death. Please read this novel on original translation site systemtranslation.com. I just want to teach him a lesson or two. I don't want that to happen again. I can even kill you, sir, if this kind of thing happens again. Let's go. Lin Fan left with his men. Everything has been settled. Wang Bao followed Lin Fan, and he punched Dragon Gang's members while leaving to express his dissatisfaction. Although he was scared when facing the Dragon Gang. But he could rest assured because Lin Fan could protect him. "Leader, you are fantastic. We finally avenged our brother." Lin Fan's men respected him even more than before. When Lin Fan broke Lang Jun's legs, he felt so refreshed, even the Lord himself came to greet him. Lin Fan patted their heads like a father patted his sons. "As long as I'm still here, no one can kill you. No matter what happens in the future, I will back you up." He touched his head and then sniffed his hands. It was overbearing. "Smelly. Are you letting them go?" Someone whispered. Gao Yixiong stood and looked at Lin Fan's party from far away. "Don't ask questions about things that shouldn't be asked, take him down, and tell him not to provoke me to kill that hunter." "Yes, Lord." That man answered. There were still a lot of people around. He didn't want to make a scene. When Gao Zhenbin heard the news, he was shocked. Lin Fan really crushed the Dragon Gang. And Lin Fan even broke Lang Jun's legs, which shocked Gao Zhenbin even more, and he was about to cry. Because he already tried to seek help, not even one man dared to mess with Dragon Gang, but Lin Fan did that for him. Gao Zhenbin rarely cried, but right now, he was completely moved by Lin Fan's act. "I must quickly heal my wounds and repay his kindness," Gao Zhenbin thought. Hunter Guild. Library. "How can you end up fighting in the port with the Dragon Gang?" Wang Zhou asked. He learned about that from one of his men. He wanted to rush and help Lin Fan, but he decided to believe in Lin Fan. Lin Fan explained the reason he went to the port was to seek revenge for one of his men that were attacked by Dragon Gang. As a result, his men's leg was broken. Wang Zhou said, "Be careful, even though Dragon Gang will not dare to touch you, but you must prepare for the worst. Thank you for your concern. I get it." Lin Fan said. Lin Fan was no longer the same man anymore, but he was a martial artist who had 67 years' worth of cultivation. He was so powerful. It's good if you have something in mind. Dragon Gang is indeed crazy, and they even dare to mess with us. If they don't have some organization backing them up, we would have crushed them from a long time ago. Wang Zhou hated Dragon Gang. Wang Zhou stopped the investigation in the port. Wang Zhou knew deep down who did it. The most important thing was, the matter of the Black Fox demon has not yet been resolved. There was a danger lurking nearby. Chapter 38. Clear. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Pavilion. The citizens used to gossip in a pavilion, ordered tea, and a few peanuts. But it was so hard to confirm the validity of gossip. At that time, a random man walked around inside the pavilion, and then he took a sip of the tea and slammed the teacup on the table. That man shouted, "You are gossiping in here, but you missed the most shocking thing in Jiangdu City for more than a decade. I'm afraid you guys won't believe it if you don't see it yourself." When the man said that, he got everyone's attention. But after a second everyone back to gossip again and ignored that man. The man said, "Well, you will miss this important thing if you keep talking." "Then what is it you want to talk about?" Everyone urged that they wanted to hear what he wanted to talk about. That man stepped forward and shouted, "This morning, a group of bald heads came to the port, and they confronted Dragon Gang and broke Lang Jun's legs." Someone interrupted him. "You think we will buy that? No one dares to make a move on Dragon Gang." "Yeah, we don't believe it at all." That man shouted again to explain, "I'm telling the truth, and I'm not the only witness. If I'm lying to you guys, my ancestor's grave will be split into two." What he said was true. And everyone started to believe because he swore on his ancestor's grave. Then what's going on? Did those bald heads really do that? Come on, what's going on? The crowd started to wonder about what happened. That man took a sip of tea and said, "I have to say the leader of that bald group is strong." "Do you know who is the leader of this gang?" "Hu Tang's master Gao Yixiong is there, but that man didn't fear him at all." "I think there will be a big war, but I did not expect Gao Yixiong will persuade him." "That is a rare event in more than a decade." That man looked so proud. He looked at everyone's expressions in the pavilion. They were shocked in disbelief. Suddenly, many people have left the pavilion. They wanted to know the truth. If that was true, it was really a pity. It was a pity not to see it in person. At that time, Lin Fan was practicing with his men in the training ground. Crackling. Lin Fan's men kept training, and Lin Fan sat there, crashed iron bar into his head. It was a bit painful, but it was not a big deal. He was used to the pain. So, what now? He was thinking about what would happen next. According to the hundreds of films and TV series, he was afraid that things in the future would not be as easy. He scratched his head while thinking about something. He tried to connect the dots. He was afraid that the problems involved were probably related. Chen Zhong and the Black Fox Demon. Dr. Sun and the Dry Well. Wei Xiong the Spy and the Dragon Gang. Those things might have something to do with Dragon Gang except the Black Fox Demon incident. And many more. Chen's affairs have not been resolved. It was hard to say that it had nothing to do with Dragon Gang, at least, Hunters hasn't found the clue yet. Lin Fan's strength has increased dramatically. The sound when the iron was crashing his head changed. Just from the sound, everyone has already realized Lin Fan's head was as hard as a metal. Lin Fan was thinking of something. Lin Fan sorted out several cases that were likely to happen. The first case. Dragon Gang saw Lin Fan as a threat in the future and told another gang to finish Lin Fan. The second case. Dragon Gang just goes with the flow, only focused on the important matters. They will ignore Lin Fan. The third case. Dragon Gang didn't do anything. Still, according to the story plot, the boss will always appear last. Lin Fan will only become stronger and stronger by beating Dragon Gang's members and finally defeated the last boss and became the strongest bald man. The third case is so nice for me, isn't it? Lin Fan pondered for quite a while. But he was not showing any sign of fear at all. The preparations will depend on which plot that would happen. Whichever one they chose, in the end, all he needed to do was just to defeat them. Chapter 39. Let's Eat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 39. Let's Eat. A few days later. Lin Fan's daily life has returned to normal. Every morning, Lin Fan took his men to run around the city, and then practiced Iron Head in the training ground. I will go see Junbin's condition when I have time. Lin Fan thought. Junbin's body was hurt whenever he moved for these past days. Fortunately, Wang Zhou had good medicine for bones, which could shorten the recovery time. The bones could be healed to the prime condition in 25 days. The news about what happened in the port has already spread wide, about Lin Fan crushed Lang Jun's legs. So every time Lin Fan took his men to run around in the city, people's eyes changed a bit. To describe their eyes in words. That was worship. The Dragon Gang ruled over Jiangdu City, but no one dared to take any action. It is strange, there is no movement from Dragon Gang. Lin Fan pondered, he had already thought about several possible things. Could it be Dragon Gang thought that he was only a small shrimp, there was no need to take action, so they just forgot about it? Lin Fan was thinking hard. Of course, he didn't stop crushing the bricks with his head. At that time, a veteran rushed in, came to Lin Fan, respectfully said, "Leader Lin, someone asked me to give you this." That man admired Lin Fan so much, he never thought there was someone brave enough to injure Dragon Gang's men in their base, and left in one piece. Who sent it? Lin Fan looked at it, and it was an invitation. It seemed very formal. As far as he remembered, he didn't have acquaintances who have recently married and had children. That man said, "I don't know, that person didn't say anything when I asked." Lin Fan waved and asked him to return to his post and looked at the invitation to know the contents. Let's eat. At noon in Zuixanlu. There was no name in the letter, it seemed a bit suspicious. Lin Fan thought that letter might be from Dragon Gang. He pondered for a moment and then a smile appeared on his face. It didn't matter who it was, as long as that person invited him for dinner, it was natural to go. He must appreciate the invitation. "Brothers, let's eat together at noon, we will go to Zuixanlu," Lin Fan said. It was a bit embarrassing that Lin Fan hasn't treated his men to have a good meal for so long after becoming their leader. Now, the opportunity has presented itself. Lin Fan naturally would not let it go. His men were a bit hesitant when they heard Lin Fan's words. Zuixanlu was the largest restaurant in Jiangdu City. It was so expensive, they didn't even dare to imagine it. "Leader, you are so awesome!" Wang Bao shouted with excitement. Lin Fan's men told him that they often passed by the Zuixanlu and smelled the food's aroma, but unfortunately, they never had a chance to eat there. Lin Fan raised his hand to calm them down. They haven't even arrived at the restaurant yet, but they already showed such great excitement. "Continue to practice, and we will go after that," Lin Fan said, and then continued to break iron plates. At the same time, he was thinking about the invitation. Who was the person that would invite him to dinner? Gao Yixiong was the person who would likely invite him. But there was a possibility there it might be someone else, such as the mastermind behind Dr. Sun's case. Suddenly, Lin Fan frowned and felt he couldn't carelessly accept the invitation. The person who invited him didn't leave a name. If that person put poison in his food, that would be the end for him. Noon, Zuixanlu. When Lin Fan brought his men to Zuixanlu, the shopkeeper with a smile on his face immediately greeted him, "Master, the VIPs have been waiting upstairs for a long time. I will lead the way." Well, arrange tables for my brothers, and give them anything delicious. Lin Fan said. The shopkeeper hurriedly responded, My lord, rest assured, I will entertain your brethren. Lin Fan nodded, quite satisfied. Wang Bao, you can eat to your heart content today, eat whatever you want, and if there is something delicious that you want to take home for your father and mother, no need to hesitate. Wang Bao was very happy to hear that, he smiled brightly. Lin Fan smiled and ordered his brethren to eat and drink, and then signaled the shopkeeper to lead the way. The VIPs. The shopkeeper stood aside, Mr. Lin, I will take my leave, the VIP is waiting inside. Lin Fan nodded. For the time being, he didn't come in but preparing himself mentally first. If something went wrong when he opened the door, he would be ready for it. Lin Fan pushed the door. The room was a bit big. He found there was a dining table behind the curtain. Mr. Lin, I didn't expect you to really come, and I'm so grateful. That person's voice sounded familiar to Lin Fan, and then he thought of who that person was. That was Gao Yixiong from the previous incident. There was no one else in that room. There were various delicious dishes on the table. Gao Yixiong, what do you want? Lin Fan looked at the surrounding environment. There was no place to hide, and he could see clearly there was nothing under the table. So at the very least, there was no need to worry about a surprise attack. Ha ha ha, it seems, Hu Tang had a bit of conflict with Master Lin, and I always want to meet you personally. Unfortunately, I have something to do before we can meet today. So I asked Master Lin to come here because I want to apologize for the previous incident. Gao Yixiong stood up and gave a signal to let Lin Fan sit. Lin Fan wanted to end that fast and return home without eating the foods first. But his brethren were eating below. Gao Yixiong was indeed a rich man. Money was nothing difficult for that guy. If he used his wealth to help the land, it would prosper for centuries. Lin Fan looked at the dishes on the table, and at a glance, he knew those foods were all delicious from its aroma and its looks, and Lin Fan could eat a mouthful as long as the foods were not poisonous, and he could know the purpose why Gao Yixiong invited him there. Chapter 40. Problems. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Master Lin, this is my way to say sorry. After the incident at the port, I have severely scolded those guys. Gao Yixiong stood up, holding a bottle, and poured wine to Lin Fan. I respect you. What are you doing? Lin Fan thought. Lin Fan didn't expect to be treated so nicely, he expected the room to be filled with dozens of thugs ready to kill him. I don't want to drink this wine. Lin Fan refused to drink, I'm afraid you would have poisoned the wine for all I know. Gao Yixiong's hand trembled while holding the wine, Master Lin, I will drink it too. If this wine is poisonous, wouldn't I be poisoned as well? Won't you be okay if you take medicine beforehand? Lin Fan said. Gao Yixiong really did not expect that Lin Fan would say such words, he felt a bit offended. He was speechless and didn't know what to say. Master Lin, I was really speechless, great, you are great. Gao Yixiong raised his glass, and sipped the wine. He found that Lin Fan still stared at those dishes without even touching the chopsticks, then he laughed, Master Lin, you think I have put a poison the foods too? Lin Fan was cautious when facing someone he didn't trust. BVEC, I don't want to eat these foods for the same reason. Lin Fan said. Gao Yixiong said, Master Lin, yeah, I am not a good man, but I definitely don't want to do such despicable things. If Master Lin can't believe me, I will let the shopkeeper taste the dishes one by one. Ordinary people will definitely say no need to do that and believe that Gao Yixiong was so sincere. But Lin Fan. If that is the case, then I will gladly eat these foods, I'm sorry for the trouble. Lin Fan laughed. Lin Fan was beating Gao Yixiong without punching his face. Gao Yixiong stared at Lin Fan. Lin Fan kept smiling, but the smile showed something that was not quite right. As if to say, your suggestion just now is good and necessary. Then, Master Lin, please wait a moment. Gao Yixiong couldn't help but called the shopkeeper. It didn't take long for the shopkeeper to come. When the shopkeeper learned of the request, he was dumbfounded. He never heard such a request after being a shopkeeper for years. Master Lin, you can rest assured now, Gao Yixiong said. Lin Fan said, yeah, I'm sorry for the trouble Mr. Gao. Then he took the initiative to take the chopsticks. The food was very tempting in his eyes. The famous chef indeed made it. It was so delicious and made people's appetites. Gao Yixiong looked at Lin Fan's bald head. He had a lot of things to say, but he didn't know how should he start the conversation. Lin Fan brought so many people there, even though Gao Yixiong himself never did that. Lin Fan knew that Gao Yixiong invited him to Zuixanlu for dinner, and the gift, that was just an excuse. Gao Yixiong must have had something to say to Lin Fan, but Lin Fan didn't care what Gao Yixiong would say, he just wanted to eat and drink wine. You speak, I listen. That's enough. Mr. Lin, the people have described Dragon Gang as an evil existence. In fact, that is a big misunderstanding. The purpose of Dragon Gang's existence and the government are the same. In recent years, Dragon Gang has controlled the port and provided a very stable life for the people in the city. Everyone has work to do, and everyone will be able to afford a portion of food for their daily necessities. As for some bad things, some of us got ahead of themselves and did stupid things on their own accord. Gao Yixiong explained slowly. Lin Fan ate the food and smiled. I don't know what you are trying to say, Mr. Gao, but about the Dragon Gang helps people, you know better than me, and the people know better than me too. Yes, Master Lin is right. Gao Yixiong nodded, then he pulled out the silver money from his pouch, pushed it gently in front of Lin Fan. Master Lin. Lin Fan glanced at the money and froze slightly. He was attracted by the amount of silver money and couldn't take off his eyes from it. Lin Fan's expression changed, and he took the money. As expected of Mr. Gao. Your brother has hurt my brother, and you give reasonable compensation for it. It's very noble. Gao Yixiong's expression changed slightly. Hee hee. Gao Yixiong smiled, but his smile was a bit weird. Master Lin, as far as I know, Dr. Sun's dry well has been investigated. Which factions are involved in that case? Gao Yixiong asked a question. And the veterans in the caravan was killed. I heard that someone cooperated with the demon. Is that true or not? Lin Fan stopped eating and looked up at Gao Yixiong. Lin Fan did not expect Gao Yixiong would ask such questions. Mr. Gao, what's the urgency of asking me about that? You, as Hu Tang's leader, maybe you know a lot more than me. Lin Fan said with a smile. No, I don't know anything about that, but will you cooperate with Dragon Gang to help with the investigation? But why must I cooperate with Dragon Gang? Lin Fan pretended not to understand. He quietly observed Gao Yixiong's face. Gao Yixiong's expression remained the same as if there was no problem. But Lin Fan knew something. How could Lin Fan not understand the meaning to cooperate with Dragon Gang? Ha ha ha, Master Lin, I'm just joking. Gao Yixiong said with a smile, to break the ice, and then switched to other topics. Lin Fan and Gao Yixiong had their own thoughts, and when their eyes met, they showed a very awkward smile. It was as if they were a close friend. Lin Fan got up and said, Mr. Gao, thank you for the hospitality, I'm stuffed, I even received the compensation. I am a grateful person, so that I will give Mr. Gao a piece of advice. Dragon Gang has existed in Jiangdu City for so long. It naturally has its reason. But I, Lin Fan, has the responsibility to protect everyone in Jiangdu City, so I don't allow evil people to oppress innocent people. If Dragon Gang's members do that and meet me, I won't hesitate to teach them a lesson. Farewell. No, please stay a bit longer. Lin Fan walked very quickly. When he arrived at the lobby, his men were already full, and their faces were filled with satisfaction. They saw Lin Fan came down and gathered around him. Leader, are you alright? Leader, the food here is so delicious. It is the most delicious food I have ever eaten in my life. Lin Fan smiled. Yeah, it's delicious, let's go. He whispered as he passed the shopkeeper. The bill is on Mr. Gao.